Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how I dyed my hair. This is the final result, but the lighting right now is not great, so there will be a better show off of the color at the end, but I'm also going to give you a bit of a review because I'm filming now 1 week after I initially dyed it, so I can give you some of my first impressions after the initial excitement of having dyed it has worn off a little bit. To start, here is a look at what my hair looked like before. This is not exactly my natural color. I had dyed it previously. Video will be linked below, but some of the remnants of that dye are still here because it was a permanent dye, so my ends are more red. Ready to go. So the dyes I'm going to be using are Arctic Fox, Purple Rain and Poseidon, and I also have a Diluter, and I also have a bowl, a brush, a clip, some gloves, and an extra brush which is a bit longer. So here's everything, and remember to read the instructions. Do not just follow what I am saying. Read the instructions. Per the instructions, I shampooed my hair. I put on a shirt that I wear every time I dye my hair. And now I am going to dry my hair with my blow dryer. And I'm going to comb it out while I do that. You don't want any knots in your hair. So here's my freshly blow dried hair ready for dye to go on it. Now I'm going to mix my dye. I'm starting by adding Poseidon to my bowl because I want to go for more of a blue base in order for the purple to come out colder, since last time I ended up with more of a red color. And you do have to take off the little film at the top of the bottle. I don't know what it's called, but it's there. You can't just squeeze the dye out. Try to be careful. You could put gloves on at this point, but I didn't. And then just squeeze a good bit out. I have a lot of hair, so I'm going to end up needing quite a bit of dye, but I want to figure out what ratio I want first, so I'm not going to squeeze out the whole thing just yet. So then I'm going to get ready my Purple Rain, also removing the cap of that guy, and then starting to pour some in. Keep in mind that this process is going to take about 3 times the amount of time that you want it to take. Sorry, my hand is blocking the camera. But I put in a pretty small amount of Purple Rain compared to how much Poseidon I had in the bowl. There you can see my little dab. And then I took a brush and I went ahead and stirred it to try and mix the colors. You can see it looks kind of indigo here. So then I went to add some diluter. Mainly I'm using the diluter to try and have to use less dye, but also to avoid it coming out just super dark black. Since my hair is not bleached, it will not be super vibrant. So now I'm mixing that in, and you can see the color of the dye looking a lot lighter. You can probably tell that it is more blue at this point. So once that is all mixed up, I'm going to get ready to try and do a strand test. So for this, I want to be able to reach the bottom of my head to just put a little strand of color in to see what color it looks like it's going to turn. So I went ahead and I put up the top half of my hair to make it easier to get to. And then I finally put on my gloves. And I just put the dye right on my fingers and pulled it through the strand. Since it was such a tiny chunk, it was pretty easy to keep it separate, but I did kind of try to pull it away from the rest of my hair. you'll notice I pulled it from the way back, bottom of my neck, bottom by my neck. Yeah, one of the less noticeable pieces, so that if it did turn out funky after this and then dyeing it, it wouldn't be obvious. So then I waited just about 10 minutes because I didn't want to wait a full half hour for it to completely develop. And while I was waiting, I put on some lotion around my face. I actually used Aquaphor, but they say to use Vaseline usually. Just anything that'll keep the dye from adhering to your face basically, because you are going to be a bit messy. I also got it all around my ears because those definitely get dye on them. So when it was time to rinse it out, I actually just put some water in a cup so that I could dip the strand in there to rinse it out. I couldn't think of any easier ways to accomplish this. So I just sort of went for that, and I tried to go until it felt like there wasn't any dye left in my hair. I was just using my fingers so I could feel it pretty well at this point. Then I blotted it dry with a paper towel, and I tried to get a little look at the color in the mirror while I was doing this. And then I actually used my blow dryer to get it fully dry so that I could tell what the color was. And you couldn't really see anything. There was not enough dye. So I went ahead and I added basically the rest of the blue. And I added a bit more purple as well to really up the amount of pigment. And the color became much more purple. So I added even more blue. Basically squeeze that guy dry so you can see the color. It's pretty purple, but definitely blue toned. So then I went to add enough diluter, basically until I thought there was enough dye in the bowl to cover my entire head, which is quite a lot because I have pretty thick hair, even though it's short. And then I put a little swipe just on my paper towel to get an idea of what the color looked like. Then it was time to start putting it on my head, and I generally use the brush throughout this process. I aim to get it on the ends first and then work up towards the root, because the root does develop a bit faster since it's close to your head and warmer. Yeah, so it was a bit difficult because of how fluffy my hair is to make sure I got everything. And I also had someone help me look at the back towards the end. There's also a good way to do this, which is to go one layer at a time from the top and kind of flip it over to the other side and do the bottom and keep working your way down one side. And then you can do the other side of the head same way. And then you can divide it similarly vertically in the back to try and get all your roots in the back. Then I put it in this shower cap basically, just to hold it all up. You can get an actual developing cap, but I didn't have any. I also got dye all over the counter. And I went ahead and I used my blow dryer to add some heat while it was developing, because I've seen people do that. I'm not sure if it works for semi-permanent dye, but I figured why not, because I was kind of worried about how much the color would show up since my hair was not bleached. And then I basically rinsed it out, and here's the result. Pretty purple, pretty dark as well. You can see a lot of different colors depending on the angle and the light. You can see some spots that do not seem as dark as others, probably because I was a bit low on dye, but nothing terribly spotty. It was very hard to tell what color it was. So here I am outside the next day for a different lighting on the color, and you can see it next to the whites now, and it looks a bit charcoaly, but I quite liked it because it was very different going on. It's almost like a charcoal indigo type thing. It's very interesting. There are some hints of purple, but they don't show up as much. And there you go, that's what color my hair is. Okay, so now that you've seen how I did it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I think about the dye, whether or not I'll use it again, that sort of stuff. So for this, I was using the Arctic Fox, Poseidon, and Purple Rain dyes, which are semi-permanent dyes and definitely designed to work best on bleached hair, which I do not have. So as you can see, the color isn't super like vibrant or clear, which is what I was expecting. You can see it in the light, and as I'm washing it, it is lightening up a little bit, which I think is working mainly because I had pretty light hair to start with, even though it wasn't totally bleach blonde. Also, my roots are definitely showing more blue than the ends, which had been dyed purple but mostly were red before. They're showing a little bit more purple. The dye does wash out every time you shampoo, so I've only washed my hair 3 times at this point, and one of those I only use conditioner, which is a little bit easier and still helps you feel a bit clean. So the dye is holding on pretty well. It's not like just washing out entirely, but you can see it washing out. Kristen from the future is here. This is what my hair looked like in the 3rd week of January, so almost a month after I dyed it. The color is almost completely gone. I did move to showering pretty much every day because it is super hot in India, but the color really did not last that long, like maybe 10 or 15 washes, and it was basically gone. I do like the color though. It did come out mostly purple. Not sure how well you can see right now. But it is mostly purple, but in certain light it looks blue, and I think that's kind of fun that it's like all over the place. And I'm okay with having dark hair right now, so I think I like it. I will say it was very hard to get a vibrant color, or a color that would really show up on unbleached hair with the Arctic Fox dye. I had to use all of the 4-ounce Poseidon bottle and about half of the 4-ounce Purple Rain bottle, and then I was mixing it with the Diluter, which I used about half of that 8-ounce bottle. So like 4 ounces of blue, 2 ounces of purple, 4 ounces of Diluter, and I still like barely had enough to cover my hair, which is why I was hoping to use the Diluter a little bit so I wouldn't have to use like a full 10 to 12 ounces of dye, because that's like a lot of dye to buy and a lot of dye to be dealing with. Since my hair is not bleached yet, I'm hoping to bleach it in the future, but can't really do it right now. But for that reason, I'm not super excited about Arctic Fox, even though I really like it. So I am probably going to be trying out a different brand the next time that I do my hair, which you'll hopefully be seeing in the future. I think I'm gonna stick with the purplish, mainly because since I'm naturally strawberry blonde, it does come out pretty well, and I don't really want to just go red. I like having a slightly more unusual color, I guess. Hope you enjoyed this. Give me a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Also, leave a comment. Any thoughts appreciated. Let me know if you use these colors and how it worked out for you. I will see you next time or in other videos. Thanks again, and I'll see you later. Bye.